KDIC, protecting your deposits.
Welcome to Self-Care Tips. I am Irene Joroge. An important part of self-care is being aware of the products that we use and the ingredients that they contain. Some of the products we have around are not as safe as they appear to be. There are ingredients that are contained in them that are not indicated on the label. One of these ingredients is mercury. Another one is hydroquinone. Let me tell you something about mercury. Mercury is absorbed into the bloodstream where it goes into the kidney. The kidney has to clean out the blood every time, and this leads to kidney disease. It is very important to be aware of what products contain because they're not indicated on the labels. Now, one thing you can do is a home test to find out if your products contain mercury and hydroquinone. A very simple test that will only take you 1 minute will give you good and telling results. This is a simple test that you can carry out at home to detect whether your product has mercury or hydroquinone. It's a very simple test, and all you need is a drop of ordinary household bleach and of course the product that you use. You open the product and remove a little bit using a spatula, and then put it onto a plate or a saucer and pour bleach onto it and mix it. Within no time, it immediately begins to darken in color, and it will gradually darken and become even dark blue. As you can see, there's some traces of dark blue. It will gradually become black. This is caused by the rapid oxidation of harsh chemicals contained within the products. The mercury is separating, and it's what gives it its dark blue color, whereas the hydroquinone emits a pungent smell, and this is one way that you can detect that indeed there are harsh chemicals which should not be in your body.
Gonna be pretty cool.
And you?
That sounds like a super fight.
And I fell in love back when we were in the States.
I think they're meant to be together. In any case, I fully support.
She chased me for 3 years. But if you think that means we're getting married, you're mistaken. That'd be absurd.
They mistreated my mom. I won't let this go.
I'll go with you. Look how cute you are, all in pink.
About the girl who bullied you. Come, apologize to her. Apologize to her.
My name is Ahmed Mohamud, the CEO of Kenya Deposit Insurance Corporation, popularly known as KDIC. The corporation recently increased the protected sum from the previous 100,000 shillings to 500,000 shillings per account. This is the highest in sub-Saharan Africa. In effect, the corporation now covers 99% of the depositors in the unlikely event of a closure of a bank. So KDIC encourages the depositors to continue doing business with our banks that are strong and resilient.
Be sure, check out for a KDIC sticker in your banking hall. KDIC, protecting your deposits.
Good evening, welcome to Prime Edition. I am Cynthia Nyamai. Some of the stories that we have for you, it's Raila's big day at Kasarani tomorrow. We do have the details for you. And also in business, we will be telling you more about the SMEs Expo or the EAC Expo in Arusha. And in sports, Karen Kibet has the stories for you. But first, let's have the highlights. Cash for food. Governments kick off cash transfer for vulnerable groups. Fare thee well. Mass held for River and Zoe tragedy victims. And it's Raila Odinga's big day as Musalia Mudavadi turns down invitation to Friday's Kasarani meeting. Well, our sign interpreter is Ann Wangeshi, and remember, would love to hear from you. Send us your feedback, your comments, and on KBC, on our Twitter handle, on our Facebook, and also Instagram handle. Now to politics, where preparations are complete for Friday's Azimio la Umoja convention, in which ODM Raila Odinga is scheduled to make the much-awaited announcement on his next political move. Odinga is widely expected to announce his candidature in the upcoming general election toward Kasarani Stadium on Thursday for some final touches ahead of his big day.
On Thursday, ODM leader Raila Odinga led a delegation to inspect the state of preparedness at the Kasarani Stadium ahead of the Azimio la Umoja convention slated for Friday.
Kasarani Stadium is ready, well prepared. The event is ready for takeoff. The Prime Minister came today to check on what is going on here, what the committee has done, and he's happy with all the preparation that has been put in place. And I want to tell Kenyans at large that we are ready for them. Tomorrow is a big day for this country. They should come in their large numbers, in their big numbers from all over the country.
Suna East Member of Parliament Junet Mohammed, who accompanied the ODM leader, said they expected the stadium to be filled to capacity.
We are expecting a huge overflow. You know, I'm sure we have invited 60,000 people, but we expect here more than 200,000 people from the look of things. So we'll see how to accommodate everyone, people who can get inside, people who can stay outside and watch it on the screens.
Security agencies say they are on high alert to ensure the event is safe and secure.
As the officer in charge of security, Kasarani, I want to guarantee the public, the general public, that the security will be very adequate. We'll be there to make sure that sufficient security is provided for all the attendees.
cheza kama wewe baba cheza kama wewe.
Raila Odinga is widely expected to use the convention to announce his interest in the presidency.
Tomorrow is a historic event and is going to be like a climax of all the activities that has been going on. And from tomorrow now, he will now engage a new gear going forward. So once he has declared his intention, then it also gives me a big push for me to now also to move forward and start now making my preparations for this position that I want, the governor's position of Nairobi.
None of his former coalition partners has announced attendance, though ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi has said he will not attend the convention. Nancy Okware, Prime Edition.
Well, we will be covering for you the event live tomorrow. We'll definitely have all the details for you. Moving on now, Deputy President William Ruto has hit out at a section of leaders he says are meeting in hotels waiting for endorsements, saying the next president will be determined by Kenyan voters. The Deputy President, who was in Makueni, says the 2022 election has already been framed and the race defined.
Deputy President William Ruto was in Makueni to drum up support for his bottom-up economic model, challenging leaders who are still holding meeting at hotels that time was up.
Kuna watu wanapangana kule kwa hoteli kule Nairobi. Mimi nauliza nyinyi, kuna watu mmetuma Nairobi kwa hoteli ati waende wafanye interview ya wale watu watachaguliwa rais? Kuna watu mmetuma Nairobi? Na wale wako Nairobi Safari Park wanafanya nini? Kura zenu nyinyi ndio mtaamua ama itaamuliwa na wale wako Nairobi kwa hoteli?
Kikombe ya chai ni 8,000. Mtu wa madiliko hawezi kaa pale akakugua chai ndio akue kwa hiyo mkutano. Kwa hiyo mkutano itafanywa, itapangwa, tupangiwe, alafu tuletewe maneno hapa. Hapana.
Ruto, while appealing to locals, say the contest is already framed and those waiting to be endorsed had better sought the support of Kenyans who will eventually decide in the 2022 election.
Nyinyi watu wa Makueni, mimi nauliza nyinyi ni wa kujipanga ama mnangoja kupangwa? Ate Makueni mnasema? Ate mmesema hampangwingwi?
While wooing voters from the Ukambani region, the DP said the hustler narrative seeks to bring everyone on board and his administration will be all-inclusive.
Tumeungana na wabunge wenu wa Ukambani na wabunge wengine wa Kenya 160 na tumetengeneza chama ya Wakenya wote ambayo haina ubaguzi, ambaye haitambui ati kabila hii na kabila ile, chama ambayo inaunganisha Wakenya wote. Iyo chama ya kazi ni kazi.
The DP, while taking a swipe at the Building Bridges initiative push, criticized political meetings held in high-end hotels, which he says do not represent the voice of the people. Kamchemenza for Prime Edition.
A requiem mass has been held in Mwingi for some of the victims of the River Nzui bus tragedy. Family and friends fought back tears as they recollected the events which led to the deadly tragedy which claimed 32 lives.
A somber mood engulfed family members who lost their loved ones during the December 4th, 2021 bus tragedy that killed 32 people. Fought tears to follow the proceedings. Bishop Joseph Mongela and Archbishop Anthony Muheria eulogized the departed Catholic faithful and called for sobriety in the church to help the affected families navigate the loss of their departed kin.
Naomba tufikishe huu ujumbe wa kujitahadhari wakati kunatokea jambo kama hilo. Mafuriko, jameni, tungoje, tusaidiane kuwa na utulivu na subira.
Local and national leaders mourned the victims and called for the implementation of projects that will curb a repeat of such a tragedy.
We want to all say, Paul, united we have stood with you and we will continue to stand with you. I pray that this is going to be the last time we are meeting here to bury and pray for our loved ones. It is with great pain and a deep sense of loss that I send you this message of condolences and encouragement following the untimely death of your family members who lost their lives in the unfortunate incident in Mwingi, Kitui County, after the bus they were traveling in plunged into River Enzio.
On Saturday, December 4th, St. Joseph Seminary bus carrying Mwingi Catholic Church choir members headed to a wedding in Nuhu drowned after the driver lost control of the 54-seater bus midstream while attempting to steer through the surging waters. The accident claimed 32 lives, whereas only 12 survivors, among them 4 children, were rescued from the bus, which got totally submerged few minutes after falling over the edge of a narrow concrete drift constructed across the 50-meter-wide seasonal river.
Our heartfelt condolences to every family affected. Now, the government says it will deploy all resources to deal with corruption menace in the country. Speaking in Mombasa to mark the International Anti-Corruption Day, Attorney General Kihara Kariuki said the Constitution will be applied to the latter and corruption will not escape the hook of them. The Director of Public Prosecution, Nudrun Haji, who attended the event, said prosecution of the corruption cases has increased from 47% in 2018 to 64% in 2021, and the big fish have not been spared.
According to the DPP, his office has managed to prosecute high-profile individuals who will have otherwise been enjoying their loot.
We have managed to, as you know, we have the Kimware Dam case that is now ongoing, where we, for the first time in the history of Kenya, we were able to prosecute and bring before court a sitting cabinet secretary in charge of finance. And we have brought over 9 governors to court and a number of other permanent secretaries and other high-ranking government officials. And this is an indication that we have taken this matter seriously.
Haji called on Wananchi to be on the forefront to fight corruption, saying citizens too have a role to play in fighting the vice. Attorney General Paul Kihara, who represented the president at the event, said the government had taken several interventions to curb corruption, among them adoption of the National Ethics and Anti-Corruption Policy, Sessional Paper number 2 of 2018, which guides the nation in fighting the vice.
We have continually engaged our international partners for mutual legal assistance, with the goals of increased repatriation of proceeds of crime held outside the country, extradition of grave suspects, and the receipt of key evidence to support both local and international-based crime.
The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission CEO Twali Mubarak, who also attended the event, urged citizens to help in the war against graft by voting into office leaders with integrity.
Pengo la pili ambalo ni muhimu tujue katika kupigana na ufisadi ni siasa ya nchi. Ukiwa siasa ya nchi ni kuwa nikiwa na pesa nitahongana, nitakuwa mbunge, nitakuwa MCA, yule mbunge si mjinga. Akitumia milioni 5 akiingia bunge, ana agenda yake. Agenda ya kwanza ni kurudisha zile pesa zake alizotumia. Agenda ya pili ni kuiba, ndo next election awe na pesa kukuhonga tena wewe. Halafu wewe una expect maendeleo.
For Prime Edition from Mombasa County, I'm Michael Mondiga.
Interior Principal Secretary Karanja Kibisho says preparations for the Jamhuri Day celebrations at the historic Uhuru Gardens are on final touches. Kibisho, who toured the venue, said most of the works are complete with only a few touches on decorations remaining. The Sunday celebration will only be marked in Nairobi and not in counties due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Preparations at the historic park are on top gear ahead of the 58th Jamhuri Day celebrations on Sunday. Principal Secretary for Interior Karanja Kibicho, after assessing the stadium, said most of the work is now complete. However, there will be no unveiling of memorial or heroic establishments which are still under construction.
For Sunday, we are coming strictly for Jamhuri Day celebration. Like you can see, there is still work ongoing on this space. And I think any launching and opening up will only come after. This site, this facility is the one that's complete to host Jamhuri Day. So the rest will be finished in quick succession and after will be advised.
Due to COVID-19 pandemic, counties will not hold any events and only 10,000 guests will occupy the public sitting area and 1,000 are the main dais at the stadium. The venue is set to be opened by 4:30 a.m. with the public expected to be seated by 8:30 a.m. before the event kicks off at 10:30 a.m. A notice has already been issued to halt any flights on the path of Wilson Airport to avoid distracting the event. The public can also take advantage of a COVID-19 vaccination center that will be set up at Uchumi Supermarket that will run from the 12th and 13th of December 2021. Kamchemenza for Prime Edition.
President Uhuru Kenyatta on Thursday joined his host Samia Suluhu Hassan at a celebration to mark 60 years of mainland Tanzania's independence at Uhuru Gardens in the country's commercial capital, Dar es Salaam. President Kenyatta, who is on a 2-day state visit at Kenya's southern neighbor, was invited to the celebrations in May this year by his Tanzanian counterpart, Samia Suluhu Hassan. President Kenyatta will on Friday be formally received by his host, President Suluhu, before leading the Kenyan delegation in a bilateral talk with their Tanzanian counterparts. The government has rolled out the Emergency Relief Cash Transfer Program to cushion and improve the livelihoods of over 2.5 million Kenyans affected by the drought. Public Service and Gender Cabinet Secretary Professor Margaret Kobia says the first 360,696 households identified for the program will receive 3,000 shillings per month until the drought situation improves.
The government has finally adopted the more sustainable cash transfer program to help Kenyans deal with the effects of calamities such as drought. 3,000 shillings will be disbursed to some 2.5 million Kenyans spread in 23 counties.
The first cohort of 366,96 households identified for the Emergency Relief Cash Transfer Program will each receive today and the rest of this week Kenya shillings 3,000, totaling to the payroll amount of 1.082, that is 1,082,088 shillings from today and the remaining of the week on a monthly basis until the rain situation improves.
Public Service and Gender Cabinet Secretary Professor Margaret Kobia, while unveiling the Emergency Relief Cash Transfer Program, said Treasury has released 1.2 billion shillings to be disbursed to the registered beneficiaries.
In every household, we estimated there are about 5 people living in that household, which either they are single parents, also is another criteria. They are child-handed household, and now we are sure we have the data that if you took to the villager, they can say, yes, this is the most needed person who deserves this kind of support.
We'll be there, God willing, as members of parliament, as the leadership of these particular communities to support this initiative, and we want to warn those who will be out to support this particular project that you will not only meet the wrath of Professor Kopia and her team, but will also meet the wrath of those of us who represent those communities.
It helps us as the partners to have a much clearer picture of how Kenya government is responding at national and county levels, and therefore where we fit in and the gap that we as international partners need to pick up and are determined to pick up.
The government is working to expand the livestock offtake program to help farmers reduce their losses occasioned by the drought. The Kenya Meteorological Department projects that the drought situation in the country is likely to persist. Ben Chumba, Prime Edition.
Well, we'll take a short break, but when we come back, we have the details for you on the liquidation of Imperial Bank coming up shortly.
Development follows roads. Whenever a road is opened, the economic activities are always part.
Tumefurahia sana kwa president wetu juu ametutengenezea hii barabara. Hata mashamba yetu sasa itakuwa na value, na hiyo tumeshukuru sana.
Sisi ndio tuna build the country. The future is in our hands.
Yote haya kwenye KBC Channel 1 Ijumaa saa 2:30 usiku.
They are taking joke of what you know for reality is what is disturbing you or what is a little to you.
Yes.
So I could urge people not to use wazimu as a descriptive word, to be more polite.
Yeah.
And I don't think why everything is associated with madness.
Yes.
Because everything you will feel people talking about it. Even the jokes, the best joke people make,
true.
They make about
people say we are niwazim. I think I'm also guilty of it, Sammy, to be honest. Welcome back, and now to business, where the central bank has approved the liquidation of Imperial Bank Limited that has been under receivership since 2015, citing a weak financial position. This will pave way for the sale of the lender's assets to pay any existing debts to depositors, creditors, and the wider public interest.
In 2015, the central bank placed Imperial Bank Limited under receivership after fraudulent claims came to light. In the same year, CBK appointed the Kenya Deposit Insurance Corporation, KDIC, as the receiver manager for Imperial Bank Limited to protect the interest of the bank's depositors, creditors, and members of the public. In June 2020, KCB took over some of the bank's assets valued at 3.2 billion shillings and assumed liabilities of the same value. The money raised, which was 37.3% of the total deposits, was to be paid to Imperial Bank Limited in receivership depositors over a period of 4 years. So far, 45,700 out of the 50,000 depositors have accessed their funds in full. About 4,300 depositors are yet to access their money, according to Central Bank of Kenya. In September 2020, following the acquisition of certain assets and assumption of liabilities by KCB, CBK required KDIC to appoint an independent external auditor to carry out a comprehensive audit of the bank. The following month, the external auditor submitted the audit report to CBK, noting a number of gaps in the report, some of which have been subsequently resolved. And early this month, KDIC submitted the receivership report to CBK recommending that the bank be liquidated. And today, the Central Bank of Kenya has approved the liquidation of Imperial Bank Limited in receivership, which means its assets will be sold off to pay any existing debts owed to depositors, creditors, and the wider public interest. Central Bank Governor says KDIC will release more information on the liquidation and payment in due course. Caroline Jenga for Prime Edition.
Well, herders in semi-arid Kajiado County are embracing growing short-term crops as frequent doubts force them to consider alternative revenue streams. This, coupled by the pressure on land, has seen the average size of herds and income reduce, prompting pastoralists to embrace other options, as Kamcha Menza narrates on this week's edition of Farmwise.
Most residents in arid and semi-arid areas engage in pastoral activities. However, with climate change that has resulted in frequent and prolonged droughts, resulting in death of livestock.
Almost 50 cows died na mbuzi zikabebwa na maji. Sasa ya ile kukona na sasa hazina afya kabisa.
Herders are now turning to short-term drought-resistant crops as an option.
Niliamua tu hii agriculture kwa sababu sisi ni wakulima wa ng'ombe.
Before venturing into crop farming, the pastoralists first undergo smart farming training to equip them with proper crop husbandry.
When you go to the community and you tell them on how they're going to do it, we are seeing a positive feedback. Previously it was not that positive, but as time is going on, we are seeing a positive feedback from the farmers.
Latia Center is a non-governmental organization that offers trainings and says the short-term crops are key in promoting agriculture among pastoralists, as one can earn much in a short period of time.
For the farmers, we do not charge them for the seedlings. What we do is that when we are doing the project, we do all the budget, inclusive of the seedlings.
On a quarter of an acre land, a greenhouse tomato farmer can earn up to 2 million shillings annually. The center is also training women on kitchen gardens to diversify earnings and boost their nutrition.
Ng'ombe na mbuzi inakuanga ya wazee. Wazee watupatii tuguze mifugo yao. Sasa venye Latia wamekuja wametuletea mboga na kuku, sisi tunakaa sana kwa kuku. Ndio tupate mayai tuuze kwa sababu mifugo hatupati.
So having women in doing this mitigation on climate change, they are hands-on and they actually deliver. And with the drought, actually the kitchen gardening and keeping the poultry has really helped them to have sources of food and sources of income for their families.
The herders have also taken up chicken rearing to maximize earnings.
Mayai tunauza, tunapata angalau kapesa. Mayai tunalipia chama. Tunakuanga na chama.
While women in the Maasai community were previously forbidden from handling money, the narrative is slowly changing. The impact of climate change has forced this community to embrace agriculture that for the first time has empowered women here.
To wean themselves from rain-fed agriculture, pastoralists are sinking water pans for harvesting water during the rainy season for use to irrigate crops. This and frequent destocking, they say, will cushion them from losses during droughts. Kamchemenza for Farmwise Prime Edition.
The Engineers Board of Kenya will dispatch structural engineers to conduct inspections and audits of all projects that are under development. The move follows the rise in cases of buildings that have collapsed this year, killing close to 50 people. EBK has further rolled out an engineer's stamp that will help rout out the quacks in the industry.
In the last 11 months, more than 20 buildings have collapsed in the country, killing more than 40 people. This has been blamed on shoddy structural works, non-compliance with the building code, and use of substandard materials. The various regulators in the built environment have also come under the spotlight for failure to enforce built environment regulations. To separate the weed from the chaff, the Engineers Board of Kenya has today rolled out an engineer's stamp fitted with security features.
The stamp is an instrument because it is a closed loop. It has its own watermarks and the security controls. It's going to be one instrument that will guarantee that services are offered by well-trained, professionally mentored, practicing engineers. Because
then you lose the dignity of the stamp. And there are measures in the Act. We have 2019 rules, which very clearly defines the code of conduct and ethics for engineers.
The board further plans to send out structural engineers to do site inspections and audits to ensure compliance. ABK Chair Board Erastus Mwongera says the engineer's stamp and ID will help with the easy identification of genuine engineering professionals and documents, urging the public to be on the lookout for quacks.
The approval process in the counties requires that no development will be submitted for approval or consideration of approval unless it bears the stamp of a licensed and registered engineer.
Infrastructure Principal Secretary Paul Mavringa says the country is facing a deficit of about 7,000 engineers, urging the board to facilitate faster registration of graduate engineers. The PS has said the government, in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, have instituted programs that ensure universities are churning out qualified engineers.
To come out of the universities when they are work ready or when they are ready for effective professional training.
The engineers called on the government to ensure engineering courses and programs are recognized globally. Caroline Jenga for Prime Edition.
Exhibitors at the ongoing EAC Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises in Mwanza, Tanzania, have lauded the exposure and opportunities the exhibition has accorded them. The exhibitors are upbeat that the exhibition will enable them forge new trade relationships within the EAC member states. However, the exhibitors want the respective governments and the EAC Secretariat to resolve border crossing challenges to ease movement of people and goods. Here is Wycliffe Okech with those accounts.
Statistics from the East African community indicate that micro, small and medium enterprises constitute about 90% of the total number of businesses in the region. The informal sector is also the biggest employer in the EAC region and creates about 90% of new jobs. And as part of efforts to expand market reach, the EAC Secretariat conducts rotational annual exhibitions across member states. This year, it was the turn of Tanzania, and 5,000 small businesses are showcasing their products in Mwanza.
Katika maonyesho haya mimi ni msindikaji wa vitu mbalimbali. Hapa nilipo nimeshika ni viazi vitamu ambavyo vimekaushwa. Pia nimeleta process ya mbegu za maboga ambazo ni mbegu za maboga. Pia nina mafuta yake ya mbegu za maboga, nina unga wa mbegu za maboga, na pia nasindika na chakata asali ya nyuki wakubwa na nyuki wadogo.
Bidhaa niliyoleta hapa ni viatu na assorted na necklaces kama hiki nimevaa hapa.
Tunatengeneza bidhaa za ngozi. Hasa tunadiri na watu wale wazee ambao wanazeeka sana. So tuna bidhaa zetu zina kitu fulani anti-aging mle ndani kutokana na mitishamba.
According to the exhibitors at the ongoing 21st edition of the EAC exhibitions in Mwanza, Tanzania, the trade fair has allowed them an opportunity to forge new business ties.
The experience has been great. We've had lots of exposure. We've had lots of clients. We didn't expect this kind of surprise to be able to get to this market level. So we are very grateful for this opportunity. It has been great to network, to get to meet other people and to meet buyers as well. They've been really impressed with the product, and we're great to enjoy this kind of exposure from here.
Maonyesho kama haya kwa kweli mimi najifunzaga vitu vingi sana. Mfano hapa ni maonyesho makubwa ya nchi mbalimbali. Kwa hiyo mimi kama Mtanzania yananisaidia sana kutembelea vitu wanavyotengeneza nchi zingine. Kwa hiyo nimejifunza vitu vingi.
Tumeweza kula na a lot kwa vitu vingi ambavyo sisi hatukuweza kukuja navyo. Kama right now kuna wale walikuwa wanauliza ile mashine ya kutengeneza karanga. hatukuweza kuja nayo, so tunajua next time tukija tutakuja navyo.
Tunaendelea na kuinteract na wao, na nimewapatia business card zangu. Wengine wanasema wanahitaji, kwa hivyo nikifika huko Kenya nirudi niendelee kuwatumia.
The innovators are also urging the EAC Secretariat to consider online exhibitions.
Ukisikiza katika wale watu wa teknolojia CAK wameanza kuongea maneno ya data. Lakini sasa hii data kwani nani wanatumia? Inafaa kuwa data ya biashara. Mimi nipo hapa nasaidia watu kutengeneza data ya biashara. Ule mteja anakuja hapa kuulizia bidhaa, mimi na profile najua huyu mteja ameulizia hiki lakini anataka kumaanisha kile.
The small businesses cite border and capital challenges as some of the impediments to trade within the region.
Sasa marketing ndio shida, na nimepata huko kama serikali inaweza kuniorganize vile inaweza usafirisha hizo vitu zikuje huku Mwanza, inaweza kuwa sawa.
Kile muhimu zaidi nataka serikali iweze kushughulikia ni kuangalia mambo ya boda.
Tuendelee kujuana, kukaribiana na tujenge umoja wa Afrika, na sisi tuweze kukompiti kimataifa, mataifa makubwa, na sisi tuonekane.
Although they revel in the exposure and experience they've gained from the fair, exhibitors from across the EAC member state want the EAC Secretariat to push for policies that will allow them to move freely across the region's border points. Wycliffe Okech reporting from Mwanza in Tanzania.
The Coast Development Authority and National Environment Management Authority have rolled out seagrass, mangrove forest and coral reefs conservation in Wasini Island of Kwale County in efforts to boost fishing activities. Coast Development Authority Managing Director Dr. Mohammed Kainan is challenging communities at the coast to embrace seagrass farming in order to protect their main sources of livelihood, since depletion of the seagrass would affect the fishing, tourism and hospitality industries.
The marine conservation and restoration efforts for mitigating and adapting to climate change have gained momentum in Wasini Island, Kwale County, and will be extended to other coastal areas. The south coastal island of Wasini is one of the country's major fishing grounds and is home to a variety of sea creatures, which makes it a suitable pilot region for the seagrass restoration project. Seagrass meadows, coral reefs and mangrove forests were rapidly being depleted in the fishing island, blamed on global warming, triggering the restoration process. Coast Development Authority Managing Director Dr. Mohammed Kainan says marine conservation efforts would be intensified to preserve marine biodiversity.
We're able to do some artificial coral nurseries and in the process transplant coral reefs at areas where the coral were degraded. This was intended to regenerate the coral reef, thereby providing some good breeding ground for the fish, especially for the communities relying on the fishing livelihood.
Local fishermen are also being trained by conservationists on how to cultivate the underwater coral gardens to help harbor fish stocks and draw tourists to the famed island near the border with Tanzania.
Uharibifu umezidi na bahari ilikuwa imechafuka kupitia kwa community mapato yao. Baada ya muda tukafanya nao tena mambo ya seagrass ambayo pia imetuletea tija kubwa sana kwa upande wa Wasini Beach Management as a community.
Wakatupa ile uhamasisho na kutusomesha mambo ya seagrass. Kwa vile tuna elimu ya restoration ya coral, tukaona hii pia ni kitu kinawezekana. Na tukafundishwa namna kupanda hizo seagrass, na muda mfupi tu yale manufaa ambayo tumeyapata ni makubwa sana ambayo sisi kama jamii tunajivunia sana.
The fishing community has welcomed the restoration efforts, noting that it has boosted fish stocks. Reporting for Prime Edition, my name is Ibak Said.
have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email newsroom@kbc.co.ke, call 0723 892 654 or 0734 780 124.
We continue with business, where only 50,000 smallholder farmers are certified to produce and distribute ecological farm produce, with about 58% of them reporting a 10% increase in income. Experts say the low numbers are due to low levels of information on the importance of organic farming as Kenya rushes to implement its fast eco-agriculture policy.
According to the BioVision Africa, farmers who had no knowledge about ecological organic farming reduced from 28% in 2013 to 1% in 2017. This indicates that smallholder farmers' initial uptake of the farming practice would eventually increase the uptake of organic farm produce, but the concept remains misunderstood.
The main issue that we should talk about probably when we say awareness creation shouldn't be there. Meaning actually the consumers should be the one demanding that we need this organic product.
Currently, challenges such as a lack of conformity in organic products, little or no support, have meant that organic products are not competitive both locally and abroad.
Would like to see a framework of standardizing procedures and standards for organic production.
When you have all the experts across the continent, what they are discussing is a standard that can be accepted at the national level. That's one standard. Meaning, if there are existing standards, what we again do is to bring those standards, and the expert from those different stakeholders can start discussing and agree by consensus on that one standard.
Speaking during an MOU signing between BioVision Africa and the African Organization for Standardization on Ecological Organic Agriculture, delegates called on policymakers and smallholder farmers to work together towards organic farming.
So we'd like to have our farmers embrace organic agriculture in a way that they appreciate why they're doing it and not because they don't have chemicals. So we'd like our farmers to do organic farming by choice, by design, and not by default. It's not by accident.
Alanauko, Prime Edition.
Now, Kenya plans to tap the multi-billion-dollar animation industry by training young innovators. The government will further partner with learning institutions and content creators to create African-themed content. Kenyan entertainment startup Ada Animation says animation will further help create employment for thousands of young people in the country.
Globally, the animation industry is said to be worth $280 billion and expected to reach $350 billion by 2025. In Kenya, however, the sector remains untapped, relying on foreign developed content. Local entertainment startup Ada Animation plans to change this narrative by telling the African story through animation content.
The whole idea is to build our animation out of African stories and African characters. That's why we're taking the Maasai culture. Anywhere in the world, if you go to Holland, Germany, if you say Maasai, everybody knows. So that's why the movie is going to be big, right?
Remember that, in the past we used to sit around our grandfathers, grandmothers, and they used to tell us stories. But again, given that the terrain has changed, people have moved to towns, and how do we tell stories? So the only way to capture the interest and change the perception is through animating our stories.
The farm, which was started in 2020, plans to empower young African creatives through skills tailor-made for the African market needs. The farm wants to ensure that Africans are well represented in animation content and improve the standards of African animation.
We cannot, compromise on quality, and that's why we're bringing Hollywood guys to help train us, to also give us some of the skills we need, and we're building these boot camps, and we're launching the biggest project out of Africa, the Last Live On.
As it is, we Africans are content consumers, not creators, and Art Animation is championing the change of that. We want to be players. Who said Africans can't show African cartoons?
The government says it will ensure the environment is conducive for content creators to exploit their talent.
Kenya is the heart of Africa. Our role as government is to provide an enabling environment by developing appropriate policies and regulations that ensure that the market is competitive, producers may make money, and consumers get value for the products and services they buy.
Our commitment is basically to see to it that we have a vibrant film industry in Kenya and that we can be able to attract more jobs of production being done on location here in Kenya.
The ADA Animation Bootcamp saw 33 creatives from 4 countries graduate and will be instrumental in the opening up of the animation industry. Betty Kiptum, Prime Edition.
Students seeking to join institutions of higher learning can now compare the cost of their desired courses across the country and the world thanks to an online innovation developed by a Kenyan startup. Tonight on Tech One, Alan Oko looks at how this innovation is disrupting the way students select courses and colleges or universities to enroll.
According to employers, higher education trends in recent years have highlighted the importance of understanding the changing needs for today's laborers, as this has implications on higher education in terms of skills, training and capacity. Most of employers say that most of those leaving institutions of higher learning do not have the requisite skills for the job market. In addition, most students are said to pursue courses or are in universities they do not have a passion for. Fortunately, this has led to the emergence of problem-solving attitudes, especially from innovators seeking to make the higher education learning experience less strenuous. Imagine having access to a personalized career guidance portal and a course recommendation reference from institutions of higher learning across Africa and the world, offering you a variety to choose from. This is exactly what Cradle, founded by Manish Sardana, John Ngoro and Shain Aman Premji, seeks to address by setting up a centralized database to guide decisions on college and course selection. But how does it work? Learners sign up to use the platform for free to compare and contrast various institutions. However, at the back end, the institutions pay the platform for the visibility. The learners are even able to preview the infrastructure in various institutions through videos embedded on the website and can review a catalogue of courses matching their queries. With over 100 universities visible on the platform, the startup hopes to list 1,000 institutions in a year. Alanauko, Tech One.
Has picked a long-time corporate America titan Meg Whitman as its ambassador to Kenya. The millionaire businesswoman come politician is now expected to be vetted by Senate. Whitman is expected to replace Robert Godek, whose term came to an end early this year. If approved, Whitman will be the top bureaucrat at the U.S. Embassy in Kenya, which is Africa's biggest mission.
She took a position with Bain & Company, where she rose to senior vice president.
A graduate of Princeton University, Margaret Cushing Whitman is a mega donor of the Democrat Party, where she donated $500,000 to the Biden Victory Fund in the 2020 U.S. elections. The 65-year-old native of New York City has worked for several major U.S. companies, including Procter & Gamble, Disney and Hasbro, before joining eBay in 1998, according to her profile. The technology executive is also a one-time Republican candidate for governor of California, where she spent a record $140 million on her campaign before losing to Democrat Jerry Brown. If approved, Whitman is expected to help jumpstart the U.S.-Kenya trade talks that have stalled for almost 2 years now. She is expected to drive the Biden agenda in the Horn of Africa, where several countries are engaged in internal military strife that threatens their economies. Whitman is also expected to drive Washington's agenda of neutralizing terror cells like Al-Shabaab and ISIS, as well as deepening America's counterterrorism agenda. Her nomination will need to be confirmed by the U.S. Senate, which is split 50-50 between Democrats and Republicans. Whitman has also had her own corporate failures, where her recent stint at video streaming service Quibi ended in failure, where the company closed its operations after 6 months of service.
Kenya is banking on the North American market to boost its international tourist numbers and hasten tourism recovery. Tourism Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala says the COVID-19 pandemic has taken a toll on travel and hospitality and is calling for concerted efforts towards recovery.
Kenya is among countries promoting their tourism products and offering at this year's United States Tour Operations Association annual conference and marketplace that will close its curtains tomorrow at Manchester Grand Hyatt in the United States. The conference, with 144 active members across the globe, provides a forum to meet with top tourism executives, tour operator members on a one-to-one basis. At the conference, exhibitors get the chance to gain invaluable insights into the North American travel market and the latest factors and trends affecting the industry and travelers across the globe. Tourism Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala says the conference comes at a time when more synergies were required among players in the tourism sector to protect the gains and made as travel continue picking up.
After the COVID-19 pandemic, the new normal is about sustainability and green tourism. It is important for us to bring sustainability in tourism. Tourism in Kenya, main pillar is conservation and wildlife conservation. That's why we need to take care of our environment. We need to make sure we play a role, even if it's small, but I know it will make a big difference.
Kenya plans to leverage the opportunity to rally the U.S. traveler trade and stakeholders participating in the event to support conservation efforts such as the magical Kenya Tembo Naming Festival. The U.S. is traditionally Kenya's leading tourism source market, with 108,072 tourist arrivals between January to October this year. Reporting for Prime Edition, I am Teresa Mutai.
It's time for a break, and after that, Karen Kibet is on standby with the sports news.
Gone? What are you doing in my compound? Sina pesa jamani, sina.
Leta pesa wewe.
Sina pesa jamani. Dema, njoo. Kuna nini? You make my water break. Are you going to have a baby? Yes.
And I fell in love back when we were in the States. I think they're meant to be together. In any case, I fully support.
She chased me for 3 years. But if you think that means we're getting married, you're mistaken. That'd be absurd.
They mistreated my mom. I won't let this go.
I'll go with you. Look how cute you are, all in pink.
About the girl who bullied you. Come, apologize to her. Apologize to her.
Welcome back. I'm happy to be here to keep you up to speed with all the sports stories making headlines today. My name is Karen Kibet. Now, Kenya will have more teams taking part in the Youth Olympic Games starting 2024 in South Korea and 2026 in Dakar. This was disclosed today by the National Olympic Committee of Kenya President Paul Tergat, who retained his seat unopposed during the elections held in Nairobi today. Francis Mutuku was elected the new Secretary General in the eagerly awaited elections that saw the incumbents shoving off the opposition and retaining their seats.
Athletics Kenya Nairobi chairman Barnabas Korir and Kenya Basketball Federation boss Paulo Tula have joined the National Olympic Committee of Kenya NOC for the first time after being elected as committee members in the elections held in Nairobi. The duo joined Kenya Swimming Federation chairperson Winnie Kamau, who retained her seat in the executive committee. Meanwhile, Paul Tergat was re-elected and opposed as the president.
Congratulations. Each and every federation that we have within our National Olympic Committee, they need also to work. And more importantly is we have now our a government which is working so hard, supporting and giving the finance also in terms of for any qualification. If a team is wanted to travel outside the country, they have been always forthcoming to see to it that we are all aligned to see to it that we drive the sports in this country.
Francis Mutuku, who was serving in the acting capacity, was elected the Secretary General.
We've solved the basic areas in terms of games. Now what we need to do is performance. Performance is long term. We are right in the preparatory period of Commonwealth Games, which will be coming up next year in July. Immediately the year starts in February, we have our Winter Olympics, where we already have one Kenyan who has qualified. We are expecting the Association of National Olympic Committees of Africa to confirm where we are going to have our African Youth Games.
Shadrach Maluki retained his seat as the first deputy president, while Waithaka Kioni also returned as second deputy president. Eliud Kariuki retained his position as the treasurer after beating Moses Mbuthia and will be deputized by John Ogola. Ramesh Awan was elected the women representative, while Helen Obiri and Humphrey Kayange retained their seats as athlete representatives for women and men respectively. Frederick Moki for Prime Edition.
Thank you, Moki, for that report. Moving on, Kenya Premier League arch rivals FC Leopards and Gor Mahia registered wins in their respective top-flight matches played today. Leopards defeated Posta Rangers 1-0 at the Nyayo National Stadium, while Gor Mahia were 3-0 away winners over Vihiga Bullets. Bandari and KCB played to a goalless draw. And finally, Atalanta's final UEFA Champions League group match against Villarreal is ongoing after being postponed on Wednesday because of heavy snow. The winner of the Group F encounter in northern Italy will progress.
And Werner is through. Lukaku was in. Must score and does. Yes. And now on to Werner. Werner's done well and Werner has scored.
Greenwood, his first start since the Manchester derby at the start of November.
And the UEFA Champions League group match pitting Atalanta and Villarreal is currently on halftime, with Villarreal leading 2-0. That's all we had for you tonight on KBC Sports News. Let's do this all over again tomorrow, same time, same place. Do have yourself a peaceful night. My name is Karen Kibet, but the bulletin is not yet over, as I do hand you back to Cynthia Nyamai.
Thank you, Karen, for the sports news. Just feedback from you. There is a Rashid from Kisumu who says that he enjoyed the story on tech, especially since he is a student. Remember, tomorrow we will be covering for you live from Kasarani, the Fridays Azimio La Umoja. Live from Kasarani, we'll have all the details for you. You do not want to miss the live event. From me and the rest of the team, we wish you a good night.